Greetings, salutations, like beautiful pixels, and welcome to another evening sailing the Maelstrom. As you can notice that this is pre-recorded, and I am not currently sitting in the dark room playing games, but instead I am joined from around the world with Mike from Traptic Games, talking about his newly released game, Homeseek, that came out on July 20th, 2023. It is currently on Steam, but real quick, let's take a quick look at that right now.
Survival in this desolate land. It's all about harsh choices. By yourself, all you've got around you is desert. Choose to band together with others, and you've got life. Water. Civilization. But the more you have, the harder it is to keep things from falling apart. People will die, but it's up to you to make the best of it. To survive, you must reach out to the world outside, and the most difficult choice is always right around the corner.
I like the way that looks, I like the feel. And we're sitting here today with Mike, head developer for it. How are you doing today, man?
Hi there, I'm great, thank you for having me.
Alright, glad to have you here. If you don't mind, let's start discussing Homeseek itself. How did it come to be?
So, we started Homeseek about 2 years and a half ago. It was at the point that Frostpunk was still very famous, but there wasn't much other game. There were many other games like it, and the concept of combining, a survival strategy game with pretty much anything else was a very interesting idea for us. Personally, I'm a very big fan of Mad Max, so it was like combining two favorite things and seeing where this would end up. And we stumbled upon a couple of actual researches at the same time frame that were about water and the consumption of water that we do on planet Earth. So we felt that Homeseek was a very, let's say, natural combination of things. Of things that were very relevant at that point, and we felt that could make up a very interesting game.
How many are on the dev team? Like, how big of a team are we talking?
We started at the beginning. There was 5 of us. So we had my partner Kate is at the technical department. I am doing game design and game production myself, and we had another programmer, another graphic designer, and an illustrator helping us. So after a year and a half of developing a demo, smaller version of Homeseek, we signed with the Iterative Collective, and we managed to scale up our team to 13 people, covering all aspects of narrative and environmental design and sound, stuff like that. And after a year of signing with them, we managed to complete the project at the state that you see now.
Well, how long did it take for y'all to do that?
So it was about a year and a half from 5 people and a year from 13 people. So,
okay. I gotta be honest, the first thing I noticed, outside of the awesome music when I turned it on, the intro. It had a Fallout feel to it. The narrator, the design, the layout. I gotta give a shout out to whoever did the narration on there.
It's an actor that we found actually through Fiverr, and he has been amazing. A lot of people think that he's actually Sam Elliott, and I mean, even he's trying to make his voice as a reference to Sam Elliott.
I'm not gonna lie. That was my first thought. I was like, is that Sam Elliott?
Yeah. Most people think that. A few people think that our model of the old guy is after Herschel. I don't remember the actor's name from The Walking Dead. I don't know if you've seen it.
Herschel. Walking Dead?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So yeah, people thought that this is Sam Elliott. They got actors. I was neither denying nor confirming this information, but we felt that we had managed to show our strength and make something to look like it's a very high production and it's a very big team, while it's actually not.
That actually is a good segue to my next question. Inspirations. Anything from pop culture, or movies, or books inspires you in this?
The Mad Max has been an inspiration in terms of how the world is built and how everything serves some kind of purpose. It's not, we don't have crazy guys trying to kill each other, but the logic of how we design the world is that everything serves a purpose in that desert-like environment. The closest thing from pop culture that is like a point of reference is the movie Book of Eli. It is post-apocalyptic. It does have some touches of fantasy, like sci-fi, in a way that the society is functioning. But I think it's a very close reference of how we have modeled our world as well.
Speaking of modeling, did you have any problems balancing realistic physics and setups versus, suspension of belief mechanics of the game?
A big issue that we had, which we had to visit a few times, was how close do we want the buildings to be to how they actually, to their actual functionality. For example, the wetlands or the purification center, which are all actual buildings, and then compared to how they actually, read from a strategy perspective and how the player is able to identify them. For example, the water extractor, we could effectively, it could just be a simple pump that could be a very simple building, but we had to exaggerate its parts in order for it to be understandable from the point of view that we have. Okay. So this was a difficult point for us to, on the one hand, that we have actual real buildings that from a top-down view they're just boxes, and then we have to make them actual make sense. And the other point of deliberation and thought was whether we should make this a sci-fi thing, where you might have some mutants or I don't know, some sandworms or some zombies or whatever.
Wait, hold. You just said my word. I haven't got that far into it. Are there zombies in this game?
They are not. We ended up with we chose to create an experience that is focused on survival, resource management, and it's focused on the community, okay, rather than the enemy, which would be the mutants or the zombies or whatever. So we went with a path of choosing a more plausible and down-to-earth world.
Okay, more plausible down-to-earth. Okay. Are there anything that you regret putting into the game, or anything that you hope people will notice?
I feel we put way too much content.
I mean, that's never a bad thing.
Well, looking back at it, perhaps we could, we have like 9 scenarios, 3 game modes, and on top of that, we also have multiplayer. So multiplayer was, it's a bet for us to see whether people are interested in something like that works completely different from what we've seen until now.
What can you tell us about the multiplayer?
It's an end game mode for the players that have been through the campaign, have mastered the intricacies of Homeseek, and they want to put to the test their knowledge against other players. If you jump straight into it, it's like, I don't know, playing first time League of Legends. I mean, you're just going to die. You're not gonna do anything.
I gotta be honest, my entire first time playing the game, I just felt like you were just trying to kill me. Like I had people,
That's easy mode. That's
I had people starving to death, so they were depressed. They were depressed, so they wouldn't go to work. I wanted them to work on the farm to get them food so they wouldn't starve to death. And it's just a vicious cycle.
It is. It can be. And to be honest, we are revisiting the balance of the first few levels. We want to give some freedom of movement and some space for mistakes at the beginning of the game, so the player can have an easier time at the beginning. But you know, the core of the game is survival. So
I think you nailed that perfectly, I'd be honest with you. There are too many easy games out nowadays that hold your hand down the road. So what should everyone know before playing Homeseek?
That it's a challenging game. It is very focused on story. You know, there's a whole market out there, and there's several sandbox like survival games or strategy games. We are trying to do something different, and that means that we focus on story, we focus on campaign, and we focus on survival. I think that's the two most prominent features that you need to get behind in order to like Homeseek.
Okay.
The difficulty in the story.
I like that. Future of Homeseek. Any updates you want to mention? Things you're working on? Maybe the idea of a possible Homeseek 2 in a few years?
Currently, what we are doing is that we want to take into account the feedback we've been getting. We're trying to do as many improvements, both in terms of balancing, but also in terms of quality of life improvements. And after that, what we were hoping from the beginning with Homeseek is not to create like a finite story, but a world that we can explore from different directions at the pace that we choose to. And for example, have you been through the second campaign?
I have not yet, no.
So in the second campaign, you get to view two different kind of factions, which is, you know, the naturalists and the technophiles.
Okay.
And they present different aspects of the game and how you can, you know, either get focused on the evolution and the machines and the technology, or go for a more traditional conservative wave, let's call it. So you have these two opposite ways that you can do things, and effectively you shouldn't do one or the other. You need to, you know, have the best of both worlds. And these worlds, let's say these factions, are things that we plan on exploring on expansion. So, you know, how would the world become if, for example, the naturalists took over the world, or on the other side, the technophiles.
Okay.
So the technophiles are effectively the guys from Mad Max. Okay, so that they would be completely focused on technology. They don't care about anything else. They don't have any. You know, they're not gonna go easy. They don't care about society and stuff like that.
Okay.
And naturalists on the other way would be, you know, like primitive, brutal, maybe even cannibalistic tribes, stuff like that. So we have a lot of space to explore, and we plan on doing that on these expansions.
So let's discuss your work with Traptic. This is your 5th release under the name. Is this your company, or is this a company you work for?
I am one of the two partners that owns the company. We have been part of about 40 projects for other companies and individuals throughout the previous 10 years.
Okay. Do you prefer to work on the smaller projects, or do you like the big grand scale games?
No, I prefer to go for a big thing that we can actually, you know, complete to the biggest degree that we can. You know, smaller projects, there's too many limitations in time, in budget. There's no room for pivot, for changes, stuff like that. So I prefer a bigger project that is more complete by the end, by the time it's done. Okay.
Well, us at the Maelstrom Hold, we like to put a light on not just the games themselves that all gamers love to play, whether you like casual, more ranked, PvP, single player, but we like to put the showcase on the people behind the curtains. So these next few questions are going to be more personally aimed towards you. But how did you get into making games? Was this like a dream of yours, or was it just a career choice?
It was a dream of mine, but, you know, in the way that I didn't think it's possible. So, you know, it could be just like I want to be an astronaut. I mean, how many astronauts are there? I was developing my own games as a game designer, mostly in terms of, board games and things and mechanics that I was designing by myself before I even knew what game design and how game development actually works. So it was like I was just messing around creating things, and then I suddenly at some point I realized that this is a thing that actually people make to make money. This is definitely not the common way to get into these things.
That's fun. That's fun. Do you prefer to make games by yourself more, or do you prefer working with a team?
With a team, definitely. I'm the kind of guy that thinks that for everything there's someone. Everything that you want to create, there's someone that it's an expert on that.
Okay.
And I don't like very much to split a person into multiple jobs.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Here's my favorite question to ask game developers: what is your magnum opus? What is your dream creation?
There's two things that I really enjoy. One is Final Fantasy, but I would say the era of Final Fantasy up to 10. If I could create something of that magnitude, I mean, I went for the biggest RPG AAA thing that exists right now. So, but you said no limit, so
it's kind of funny.
This would be my.
It's kind of funny you mention that, because the next question on my list is there a game franchise you would love to work on? So now I'm going to ask that question and exclude Final Fantasy from it.
I always challenged myself whether I could make a card game or a very heavy tactical game. And this is, the game, the name of the company, which is Traptics, is a combination of the words trap and tactics,
yeah.
Which was very relevant to the first game that I had designed as well. And I would like tactical games to be more mainstream, so that we could actually work on them more. And so,
okay.
This is like a combination of Final Fantasy is very close to both, as a tactical perspective and as a story thing. So
you're talking to a person who loves Final Fantasy so much. I named my son after one of the characters. Trust me, I get you. I feel you on that. But going on to the next question, would you want to, if given the choice, not like money-wise, but like just pure creativity and work, given the choice, would you stay in the indie crowd, or would you like to move on to more AAA development with other companies?
Definitely not AAA. I wouldn't enjoy a AAA company. I haven't worked on one, so maybe it's not exactly how I imagine it, but I expect when you work on a project that takes maybe 5 years and you are one person out of 200 people, be able to discern your impact on the game. This might be a little bit selfish, but I am in this industry because of the creative part of it, and if I can't really express this on the game that I am designing, then I see no point at it. So definitely not AAA, but like I said, I do appreciate some specializations. I would like to be in a company of the size that can have specialists, so maybe 20-30 people max, but after that I think it would be strange for me.
Any advice you'd want to give to those wanting to get into game development or to get to where you are now?
If I would give one advice to myself, would be to be a little bit more risky with the size of the projects that we do and how fast we are trying to develop our company, our portfolio, and stuff like that.
All right.
And Homeseek is the first true risk we've taken, and this has taken us 11 years for us to do so. I would say just try to break some eggs earlier. Okay.
Let's talk about the community, and I'm going to go ahead and boast for you a little bit. You have been the most active developer I've ever seen on a Discord. You try to message everyone, you reply to everyone, you respond to feedback and bugs. I want to give you props on that one. And not to mention, you responded to my request for this interview within 24 hours with a definite answer. That was amazing. I want to say thank you for that. Yeah, and even just for sitting down with me now. But has the community that you've worked with on the Discord, has it ever influenced Homeseek, either before the game came out or even now?
In the game directly, you mean in terms of ideas, for example, or?
Well, yeah, like, hey, that's a good idea, I should try that, like creative-wise, monster-wise, dialogue-wise, or like features you didn't think to put in. I noticed in the Discord there's been a lot of talk about people being angry with the lack of an autosave, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, these quality of life improvements are definitely things that we kind of know that they're needed, but which takes the highest priority is mostly based on what the feedback is and how many people want it. There's a bunch of improvements that we keep on making, but we base the priorities on the feedback. We are trying to balance the game and plan our next updates almost exclusively based on the feedback we've been getting. So we released the demo back in September, and since then the Discord server and the feedback has always been ramping up and becoming more common. And the biggest, let's say, impact happened almost a month ago when we had our next fest, and we also released a release date for the game with a new trailer and stuff like that. So we had a big influx of players, and at that point there was a quite big amount of feedback about things that we want to make. So we committed on that feedback, and we released a 1 month roadmap about things that would be ready on the release. So everything that we did on the last month was based on that feedback.
Okay.
So we're trying to deliver on those requests and on our promises. And now that we have released, we plan on gathering this feedback that we are already getting and probably release another roadmap for the next few weeks or the next months, maybe in a couple of weeks or a week or so. So
Okay.
it's been paramount for our development plan.
Would you ever let a member of your community influence you directly? Perhaps in the future, see a fat, bearded, red-haired man wearing a Dungeons & Dragons t-shirt in the game? Maybe he wears glasses? Maybe he interviews people? and wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
We have a few things that we plan on doing with the community. An example would be that we plan on having multiplayer, beat the developer nights, and whoever beats one of the developers, he gets a special badge on the Discord, or we might add his name within the game. So at some point you might get a citizen that has your own name.
I am down like 4 flat tires. If I beat you, I want the Maelstrom Hold in the game. No, I'm kidding.
Another idea that we have: Twitch integration in the game. As the streamer is playing and more people join his stream, he would actually get these citizens inside the game.
Oh.
So, if you have a lot of people, then this is a challenge in itself. That you would constantly get new people, and you need somehow manage them, and someone would die. I mean, for example,
maybe
Lucian just died, and you would be like, "Wow, why did you kill me?"
Maybe my farm will actually have workers now. Stop starving! Go grab the corn.
And we have a bunch of systems that you can see that we have online. We have the campaign. We have this Twitch thing. We're trying to see what the players are more excited about, and this is what we are going to further develop. We really want to expand on these community-based features.
Okay, that's fantastic. I had no idea about that. None of the research I have done has showcased that. I'm glad to hear that.
There are some rare cases that someone will say something that, like, how haven't I thought of this, and would be a very good addition to the game. But in most cases, when you have spent 2.5 years on something,
yeah,
you probably have a lot of things that that needs to be done, but you can't really do everything.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, okay, there's 100 things that I can do. Every feedback form or every other person is going to suggest like 5 or 10 of these, but the common ground about what these guys suggest is what we actually focus on for the next updates and stuff like that.
With interacting with the community, I'm sure you've interacted more than just on Discord and other areas. Have you noticed more positive or negative feedback for Homeseek?
we have, like, how can I say this? Two extreme cases where either the players get immediately alienated by the difficulty of the game, or they just love it and they don't stop playing. We don't have a lot of people that fall, in between.
The first one sounds like a skill issue. I'm just gonna say that right now.
The first screen says that expect to die. It's part of the journey.
Real quick on this, we touched on base with it before. Your favorite review. This game was called The Dark Souls of Resource Management.
I'm gonna say it's a good thing.
oh yeah, it's definitely a good thing. There's too many games nowadays that are just so easy. You play it, you're done with it, you put it aside. I keep coming back, and I'm not even out of the first chapter yet. Like, I keep coming back to it. First time I forgot to save, not gonna lie. What would you say to the people who have been reviewing the game with less than an hour played into it? What would you tell them? What would you like to say to them?
This is a pain point, to be honest. It's, for example, we have a few reviews that think that the game is too linear. The first scenario, it is going to be somewhat linear because we're trying to protect the player from doing, even more mistakes that one can do. So you have only a few technologies, there's a few locations to explore, you have a few things to do because it's the first level. I mean, it should make sense.
Yeah.
But as I said, a lot of players expect something different and they get, frustrated when they don't find this. I'm hoping that as the time goes by, people will understand what the purpose of this game is, what is the desired experience, and they, those that are interested in this, they will be able to cover their reads, while those that I don't know what this is, don't seek this, will be okay with, something different. And I mean, for example, when I remember when we first launched the game, within 5 minutes, there was like 2 rooms full of people playing the online multiplayer. There was no way they would know, what's going on. It's
all you can do. It's proper strats.
Yeah, it's there is no tutorial there. You need to already know what the buildings do. So, I noticed that then they left negative reviews about not understanding what to do. I can't really control their actions, but some things are sometimes you're like, God damn it! Why? That's why.
Here at the Maelstrom Hold, we are not opposed to drama or controversy against things that we do not feel is unfair. So, if it's okay with you, I'd like to call out directly one of the reviews from Steam that I noticed that I thought was just unfair. Is that okay?
Yeah. Go on.
We noticed that there was a review by a user named Kevin the Inkling. This person logged only 42 minutes into the game and had a review 5 paragraphs long with different punctuations, different formatting. He obviously put more thought into what he was posting than he put into actually trying the game.
Yes.
What would you like to say to him? If any comments, anything you'd like to say directly to him as someone, and I looked through his channel with over 500 games, most of them were indie games, and most of them, and I mean all but very few, were negatively reviewed in the same way as yours. So obviously this person makes a career of doing this. What would you say to him? Or her?
I mean, there's no point for me to trying to, pick and choose, from the bad reviews. I'm just hoping that the people that actually enjoy the game would, express their own satisfaction and what makes them like. We are going to be driven by the people that actually, like the game, not by the ones that don't. So I don't want to focus on this.
Okay, that's fine.
There's gonna be a few players that that leave unfair reviews.
Rage bait, stuff like that.
People,
Rage bait, stuff like that, like rage content.
Yeah. I mean, chances are most people that see a game, they won't like it. The majority of the people won't like any game. It's just a small percentage of its of every, let's say, target market that you are hoping that they will buy your game, enjoy the game, and you will have your own community. So the challenge for us right now is to be able to communicate what this game is about and find our target market, our community, people that enjoy challenge and survival and story. It works and what it does.
You've mentioned Frostpunk a few times. You mentioned that was your inspiration. I take it a lot of the reviews, both negative and positive, for saying this is just Frostpunk, this is Frostpunk without this, or this is Frostpunk with that. You take that as a compliment, you know. Is that something you approve of, or?
There's a few ways that you can phrase that and either be a compliment or a good thing. So it can be, you know, it's like Frostpunk, but with Mad Max. So, you know, I view this as a good thing because the other guy gets what you're trying to do. But if they're saying that it's just Frostpunk, but it's more complicated or harder, it's probably not a good thing. But in our case, it is like having Frostpunk with Mad Max, but the main difference is the story. We have a big emphasis on the story, on the narrative, and the decisions that you make along the way, the events. We are much more invested on it than Frostpunk is. And this is another thing that players need to know about the game, is that this is not a city builder where you just exponentially grow your city forever. It is going to end. The scenarios are finite. We do have an endless mode, but this is not the focus of the game.
Okay. Well, I believe that's all that I have to say for it. Personally, I love what we've done here. I love what you have done with the game itself. And I appreciate you sitting down with me today to draw the curtains back on not only Homeseek, but the work and the love that's went into it. I want to say thank you for sitting down with me today, Mike, and all the awesome people over at Traptic Games. We love your work. We love what you've done. If you want to play Homeseek with the developers or even with the community, links to their Discord is going to be down in the description. If you want to play with the Maelstrom Hold while we play with the community, my link will be down in the description. This interview has been a great time for me. I appreciate you sitting down. And for those y'all who want to play it, make sure you check it out on Steam. It is $24.99 as of right now. It's brand new, and trust me, it's worth every penny. But as always, my name is Lucian, the gingerbread man himself. Thank you, and we'll see y'all next time.